What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be going through the best Darkside hero star cards for Galactic Assault and Supremacy in Star Wars Battlefront 2. In this video, we'll be going over all 11 Darkside heroes in the game and covering the 3 or 4 cards that I personally think are the best cards to use for both game modes. Now, it is worth keeping in mind that this is just my opinion on what are the best cards to use. There is no such thing as the objectively best loadouts, despite how many people want to comment and tell me that their card loadouts are better than anyone else's. So again, just keep that in mind. These are my personal suggestions for the millions of new players that have recently joined the game. Now, today's video is actually sponsored by Loot Crate. A massive thank you to Loot Crate for helping support the channel, but we will hear more from those guys later on in the video. If you enjoyed this video and it ends up helping you out, then be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more Battlefront 2 content. But with that out of the way, guys, let's get stuck right into it. So, starting off with Boba Fett. Boba is actually my main villain, and although he is really hard to get the hang of, I'd argue that he is still one of the better villains in the game if you do get the hang of him. The first card I'd recommend is the Focalized star card, and this one gives Boba's rocket barrage more damage at the center of the explosions. So if you can make sure to stay accurate with the rockets, then this will deal a decent amount more damage, obviously resulting in more kills per use. The next card that is worth mentioning is his quick refuel card, and this one just refills his jetpack fuel up to 15% faster. I actually used to advise against this card, to be honest, but since then a lot of his other cards have been nerfed quite heavily, and so now this one is definitely the next in line, and it does serve a pretty useful purpose. Now, the third card that I run is the fuel efficiency card, and this reduces the cost of his jetpack fuel, essentially meaning you can fly for a longer period of time. It's not a whole lot more. I think it only works out to be less than 1 second extra. However, like I mentioned, a lot of his other cards that used to be great aren't all that great anymore, so this one is still a decent pick. Now, a bonus card, if you're not a fan of one of those, is the extended exposure card, and this one will reveal enemies for up to 6 seconds longer when you use the For the Hunt ability. This one is really solid for situational awareness, and so if you do think you can handle without those jetpack cards, then this one is definitely the next one in line. Moving on, we have Bossk, and if used correctly, Bossk is definitely one of the better characters in the game, at least when it comes to a crowd control type of playstyle, and he can absolutely lock down certain areas of the map on his own. The first card I'd recommend is the multi-traps card, and this just gives you 2 extra mines each time you use them. They deal, I believe, 80 damage per mine, and adding an extra 2, making it a total of 5, takes that to 400 possible damage if all 5 of them hit, so this one is a very, very solid card to choose. The next card I'd recommend is the Ultimate Predator card, and this one makes it so that each time you get a kill while Predator Instincts is active, you'll extend the duration of that ability by up to 30%. This ability is by far his best ability, so allowing it to last for a much longer time per use is an absolute no-brainer. Now, the third card I'd recommend is the Unrelenting Predator card, and this one makes it so that each time you kill an enemy with Predator Instincts, all of his other ability cooldown times are reduced. This card honestly results in a situation where you can pretty much just constantly have abilities at the ready, because once you finish with Predator Instincts, you're almost certainly going to have the other 2 abilities ready for use. Now, if you want to go all in on his Predator Instincts ability, then the Predator Resilience card is another great card that you can choose. This one gives you 20% damage reduction while this ability is active, and so like I said, if you want to just go all out and upgrade this ability as much as possible, then this can be another solid option. Moving on, we have Vader, who is no doubt the most OP character in the game right now, and he is absolutely dominant, pretty much being on easy mode against troopers. The first card I'd recommend is his bonus health card, and exactly as it sounds, this just gives him up to 150 extra health, which is obviously super helpful, making him even tankier than he already is. The second card I'd recommend is the Furious Resilience card, and this one gives him 25% more damage reduction during Focus Rage. He already gains a bit of extra health with this ability, and so to then give damage reduction as well, that is obviously just adding to his tankiness even further. The third card I'd recommend is the There Is No Escape card, and this one just increases the distance that he can throw his saber. Vader is an absolute tank in close quarters areas, and his only real weakness is his pace and his range, so having the ability to kill enemies from further away definitely allows him to be more well-rounded. Moving on, we have Palpatine, and honestly, a good Palpatine player can be next to unstoppable as well in this game, especially on the right maps. The first card I'd recommend is his Lightning Reach card, and this one just gives up to 30% extra range on his regular lightning attacks, allowing you to fare much better at longer range, which is really Palpatine's only weakness. The second card I'd recommend is the Surge of Lightning, and this one allows you to bounce the Chain Lightning ability through up to 4 extra enemies, meaning you can score some pretty big multi-kills if you do time it right and get into the right positions. The third card I'd recommend is the Show No Mercy card, and this one actually just allows the cooldown for Chain Lightning to be reduced by 1/4 of a second for every enemy that you hit with it, to a maximum of 5 seconds. This ability is insane if you can use it as a finisher, and so having such a fast cooldown can result in it becoming pretty damn OP. Moving on, we have Iden Iden Versio, and depending on the map, Iden can often be a little bit hard to use, but on the right maps and in the right positions, she can also become one of the better characters in the game. The first card I'd recommend is the Alternative Methods card, and this allows Iden to use her alternate fire mode up to 25% more often, which is absolutely insane. This ability deals crazy splash damage and usually results in a one-hit kill on most troopers, and it also cannot be blocked by enemy heroes, so being able to use it more often is obviously very handy. The second card I'd recommend is the Acquiring Target star card, and this one essentially just increases the area of effect on her stun droid, meaning you can stun enemies from further away. Her stun comes in clutch more often than you'd probably think, so this one is an absolute lifesaver. The third card I'd recommend is the Droid Batteries card, and this one just reduces the recharge time on her stun droid and droid shield abilities by up to 25%. The stun ability is one of her biggest strengths, and the droid shield is easily her best and pretty much only line of defense, so being able to use these much more frequently is an absolute no-brainer. Moving on, we have Kylo Ren, and he is one of the few characters that I actually pretty much use the same cards in GA as I do in HVV, so if you've watched the HVV version of this video, then these ones are exactly the same as they were in that one. The first card I'd recommend is the Closing In star card, and this one just gives you up to 40% added leap distance when you use his Frenzy ability, and this is a game changer when it comes to closing ground on your enemies. The second card I'd recommend is his Bloodlust card, and this one adds 20 damage to his Frenzy attack, which is already very powerful, so this is another somewhat obvious one, as it allows you to deal a lot of damage very quickly. The third card I'd recommend is his Power Reach card, and this one just increases the area of effect while using the pull ability. Now, Kylo is one of the more dominant heroes in close range with that Frenzy and Freeze ability combo, and so by buffing his pull as well, he has all around got one of the best ability sets in the game. So guys, like I said earlier, this video is actually sponsored by Loot Crate, and they've sent me this really awesome Fallout Vaporised collection, which I'm a big fan of Fallout, so this is very, very awesome for me. Now, this comes with 4 t-shirt designs. The first one we have here is the Atom Drop design, which is definitely pretty awesome. The next one we have here is the NCR design. The next one we have is the Power Armor Plateau design. And then lastly, my personal favorite is the Quantum Cola design, which again, anyone who is a fan of Fallout will know that design right there. Now, these t-shirts are really, really solid. They're 100% cotton and they actually feel really, really soft, so I'm keen to start wearing these around the house. If you guys do want to get your very own Fallout shirts, then there will be a link down in the description, so be sure to go and check that one out. And I do get a small kickback for that as well, so you will be helping to support the channel. But anyway guys, with that out of the way, let's get stuck straight back into the star cards. Moving on, we have Maul, and Maul is one of those characters that can be a little bit hard to get used to, as he does have a very unique playstyle, but he's definitely still a very solid character. The first card I'd recommend is the Flow Motion card, and this one gives him 1 extra spin attack at the cost of a slightly slower recharge rate, and this is so handy as you can close a ton of ground while making it borderline impossible for enemies to land any shots, and it also just increases your movement speed a hell of a lot by allowing you to quickly navigate the map. The second card I'd recommend is the Lightsaber Defense card, and this one simply gives you 16% damage reduction at all times against enemy blasters. This effectively turns your 700 HP into 812 HP, at least against blasters anyway, so it's really the equivalent of gaining over 100 free HP. The third card I'd recommend is the Ranged Throw card, and this one allows you to throw his saber up to 50% further, which more often than not will cause it to go through and then come back through an enemy, allowing it to be essentially a one-hit kill, since it will kill most enemies before it returns to your hand. Moving on, we have Captain Phasma, and she is a little bit harder to play if you are newer, but she's really solid at locking down objectives, and she's definitely one of the better team players in the game. The first card I'd recommend is the Safety First card, and this one just gives her an extra 60 HP when she uses the Survivor ability. She can go down pretty fast if she's not protected by her turret droid, and so making her a little bit tankier is always a good thing. The second card I'd recommend is the Not Hard Enough card, and this one actually gives her 50% damage reduction while Survivor is active. This one is a no-brainer. 50% damage reduction is pretty hard to pass up on, and considering the fact that she can often be pretty fragile, this one is super helpful for her survivability. The third card I'd recommend is the Easy Shots card, and this one makes it so that with each kill, her blaster will have its heat reduced by 60%, meaning you can shoot for a hell of a lot longer, and this one really comes in handy when you're coming up against a whole bunch of enemies. Moving on, we have General Grievous, and Grievous is without a doubt one of the more dominant saber heroes in the game. The first card I'd recommend is the Beating Heart star card, and this one just gives him 100 extra health regen, taking his regen to a total of 350. The second card I'd recommend is the Sith Trained card, and this one gives his sabers an extra 30 damage per hit at the cost of 25% more stamina drain, allowing him to one-hit kill all troopers other than a heavy. This one is awesome for that reason, but you do also need to be very careful not to swing spam with it, as otherwise you can get caught off guard with no stamina to protect yourself. The third and final card I'd recommend is the Lineup Weaklings card, and this one makes it so that after the first hit, Claw Rush will deal 50 more damage, making it a one-hit kill on any trooper other than a heavy after that first enemy. So this one is absolutely insane at getting multi-kills and clearing out rooms or hallways. Now moving on, we have Dooku, and without a doubt Dooku is one of my favourite lightsaber characters in the game. He is so much fun to use, and in the right situations he is absolutely deadly. The first card I'd recommend is the Sith Control card, and this one just gives 120 more health regen, taking his regen to 370 overall. The second card I'd recommend is the Initiative card, and this one makes it so that every 15 seconds you'll pretty much gain the ability that with your next hit you'll deal 50 more damage than normal. So essentially every 15 seconds you'll be able to one-hit kill an enemy, which is a very nice ability to have. The third card I'd recommend is the Balanced Duelist card, and this one just reduces the recharge time on Duelist by 4 seconds. Duelist is without a doubt one of the most deadly abilities in the game, and being able to use it so much faster is obviously a no-brainer. Now, last but not least, we have BB9E, and while he can be kinda tough to get the hang of, he is really good when it comes to team play in these modes. The first card I'd recommend is the Full Reconstruction card, and this one gives 100 more health regen, which for characters that can go down quickly is always a good option. The second card I'd recommend is the Faster card, and this one makes it so that if you hit 2 enemies with a shock spin, then it will actually double the damage output while that ability is still active. So that one is definitely great for close quarters and crowd control. Now, the third and final card I'd recommend is the Linked Systems card, and this one just increases the damage output on BB9E's shock prod with every 4 successful stuns to a maximum of 8 extra damage. Now, BB-8 is definitely not the best offensive character, and so giving him a buff in that area is always a good idea. So those are my choices for some of the best star cards for all 11 Darkside heroes in Star Wars Battlefront 2, at least when it comes to GA and Supremacy anyway, and hopefully those will help some of you newer guys out when it comes to those game modes. That is going to do it for this one though, guys. If you enjoyed this video, then be sure to leave a like down below, and if you are new, then consider subscribing to the channel with those notifications on. Thank you all so much for watching. You guys have a great day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.